As a bookish content creator, my physical TBR grows every year. I'm so grateful to have publishers send me books, and I like to thrift books myself. But over the years, I've realized I have a different relationship with book buying. I am not the same person I was when I first started my channel and just bought every book that I saw. I am more intentional with what I buy, and I tend to use my library more. But I still acquire books, and I want to make sure that I am reading my physical TBR. That's why today I will be going over my book buying from 2025 and just how my physical TBR has grown, going over the statistics. I did this last year for 2024, so I'll link it down below, and I was inspired by Leandra, the TBR Zero, so I'll also have her video down below. Before I share the 2025 numbers, let's go over my 2024 numbers for a little refresher. I acquired 38 books, I read 8 of them, and I had 30 unread. I would say my numbers in 2025 were definitely higher, but in a good way. In 2024, I acquired 38 books, and in 2025, I acquired 41. Of those 41 books, I read 10, which equals to 24%, and leaves me with 31 books unread. I bought 9 of those books, and 4 were gifted to me by family or friends. 30 of those books are from publishers. That means 74% of these books were gifted to me by publishers, PR agencies, etc. Again, I am so grateful for that. I really appreciate all of the publicists that reach out to me or the publishers themselves to gift me some of their books because they think it would be great for me and that my audience would like them. I never pick a book that I don't think is going to align right with me. Trust me, I get so many requests from people asking me for a fantasy or sci-fi, and I have to let them down easy. Honestly, sometimes I just get so many of them that I just delete them. For my day job, I work as a freelance publicist, so it really upsets me when people didn't do their research. Sometimes they just have to go into the trash can because you didn't do your work. Literally, if you looked at my channel once, you would know I'm not a good fit for a fantasy or sci-fi. Sometimes it's like, I think you have the wrong guy. Like, unless it was queer and like about queer finances or something, maybe, but a lot of it does not align with me, so trust that I'm always picking books that align with me and that I would want to read. I did make a video where I go over all of my reading stats from 2025, so I'll link that video up above. In that video, I mentioned 39% of the books that I read in 2025 came from the library, and I just realized I would rather get it from the library than buy it. I just am not somebody that needs to buy books anymore. Not because I get sent them, just for my own personal space, I guess. I don't really have much space to put books, which is why I'm trying to unhaul more. The only time I buy a book is if I want to support it. If my friend wrote a book or there is a debut author that I want to support and I have the means to. But I just don't find myself buying books anymore. When I go thrifting, I always seek out a book that I have read because I want to have it on my shelf. I think I just have so many TBR books that if I really want to read a book, I am privileged enough to be able to get it from my library. So I find myself reading from my library more every year, but I still want to read from my physical TBR. And last year, I did a good job. I read 25% due to my series TBR Tackle, and that was 34% of the books that I read. I wanted to at least be like 50%. I really want that to be a goal, and hopefully TBR Tackle will help me with that, but I do want to continue to read my physical TBR. Now let's compare the prices. I spent $31.93 on books. That was the 9 books that I have bought. And from my library, I saved $541.89. Using my library saves me so much money. 10 books that I read are Disappoint Me by Nicola Dinan, Recommended Reading by Paul Katia, Glitch Girl by Rainey Oat, Of Hockey and Hijab, Legends and Lattes, The Next Chapter by Cameron Kellogg, Sisters of the Lost Nation by Nick Medina. I had read this a couple years ago, but I recently thrifted it. And Lucky Red by Claudia Cravens is the same thing. And I believe I thrifted them in the same trip. Costumes for Time Travelers by A.R. Capetta, and Gender is Really Strange by Teddy G. Go Tiaz. As I was collecting books for this stack, I realized I forgot A Gentleman's Gentleman, so some of my stats might be off. Here we have 11 books and not 10. And the rest of the books I haven't read. I thought this would be a great time to reflect on book buying and book hauls. I wanted to know what your thoughts are if you watch book hauls. So if you do, I would love to know your feedback. I stopped making them, I think like halfway through the year. I can't remember when my last one was, but I saw a video of a fellow booktuber who was saying that book hauls aren't normal. So it got me thinking, am I a bad person for making book hauls? I think that they were talking more about overconsumption and people that go to Barnes & Noble and get like cishet white books and they've bought like 50 of those books. And so I get it. But it just had me thinking, do people care about book hauls? Sometimes my book hauls don't really get that much traction, which is fine, but I just want to know, do you want me to keep making them? Because if it's not interesting, I won't. And maybe it is just better for me to show the books that I actually read, or I could just make them into like a short video instead of like a whole long video. But I would like to know what your thoughts are on book hauls and if I should continue making them. I got so insecure because I was like, wait, I mean, I guess they're not. I don't know if it makes me a bad person or not. Like, I really thought me making book hauls made me a bad person, but I think the way that I do it is not to show you how much I've spent or what I've been gifted. It is more so to tell you about the books in case you want to pick them up. Let me know your feedback in the comments. And if you missed my book hauls, I'll put the playlist down below. I did one in June, I believe, where I had an unboxing of some things. Harlequin and Jessica Kingsley Publishing sent me some goodies, so if you want to go and watch that and you missed it, it'll be down there. But I would love to know all your feedback. In conclusion, I would like to continue doing these audits because it helps me know what I've acquired, what I've spent my money on, and how I can do better at acquiring less books. Like I've said already, I tend to use my library more when it comes to new releases and just things that I want to read. I find that I don't acquire as many books anymore than I used to. I am very selective on what I get, and I want to prioritize owning books that I've read just for a keepsake. I love to thrift books. It's really fun to do that, especially when I find one of my favorite books for $3. So in 2026, I want to acquire less books, especially from publishers. I am very selective now, unless it is a book that is one of my most anticipated releases, or it is something that really scratches an itch for me and it's unique, I will say yes to it. But otherwise, I am saying no. I don't want to be owning so many ARCs. I literally have so many ARCs. I talked about this in a previous video. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but I just talked about how I want to stop having so many ARCs, and I wish that publishers would stop sending me them without asking me because it is happening a lot and I have to send over emails and I'm just like, hey, I didn't ask for this and I don't know where to put it. That is really stressing me out at the moment, and I just hate having so many ARCs. Honestly, I would rather have the physical copy because it's easier for me to donate. That's really not that important. It is a very minor problem. Of course, my biggest goal is to continue reading my physical TBR. Like I've already said, I would love to have 50% of it read and to start just reading the books that I acquire very quickly, not just having them sit for 4 years and then I unhaul them anyway. Last week I posted my read it or unhaul it list of books that I meant to read in 2025 or I had to unhaul them. For this video I planned to add a section where I share what I'm unhauling. I thought I would have a pile, but I only have one book. This is Of Haki and Hijab by Shima Khan. I read this for my top tier on Patreon. This was before I was initiated into Bindery because it was the first half of the year. I had my top tier members suggest books for me to read and I did spoiler reading vlogs for them, and this was one. It is Reflections of a Canadian Muslim Woman around the time that 9/11 started to produce more Islamophobia. It talks about how Muslims were treated during that time, positive and negative effects, and it talks specifically to Muslim women and families about how they can keep their kids safe and just some things like that. Honestly, I thought that it was a misleading title because there's only one essay about hockey. I really thought this would be an essay collection about a Muslim woman being a hockey player or playing hockey. There is so little hockey in here. It was informative and I would recommend it, but I'm going to pass it off to another reader. Here are all of my unread books that I acquired in 2025. If there's anything that you want me to prioritize, definitely let me know in the comments and I will make some content out of reading them. Last week I posted my read it or unhaul it list of books that I meant to read in 2025 or I had to unhaul them, and then my list for this year. And I mentioned how I just have so many books from like 5 years ago that I never read, and I have a better relationship with unhauling now. I don't really have much sentimental value because I know I can just get it from my library, and I know that's very privileged because not everybody has that experience. I am grateful that if I want to read a backlist title, I will read it from my library. But I've also realized I don't read that many backlist titles anymore. My range is like if it came out in 2020 to if it came out in 2025 plus new releases. So I've realized if it came out before 2020, it's probably gonna get unhauled. I don't have sentimental value anymore with TBR books. Unless it is like my favorite author and I know I'm going to get around to it, I will. Or it is a book that I've thrifted, because I have thrifted many like older titles that I want to get around to that are maybe classics or things that I didn't read in school and I wish I had. Other than that, I'm fine with unhauling, and that is my conclusion to this video. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know, are you a book buyer or do you just read from your library? What are your thoughts? And if you watch book hauls, let me know if you want me to continue making them. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and leave a comment. It really helps me out. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Alex. I'm a trans man who loves to uplift queer and trans books on my corners of the internet. So if you're into that, hit subscribe. Thank you to my top members on Patreon and Bindery for their support this month. I appreciate you so much. If you want exclusive content and to join my private Discord where I host events, I will be hosting a readathon next month, and we have a themed book club that is going very well. Become a free or paid member and you will have access to the Discord. If you'd like to watch more, YouTube suggested this video and you can subscribe there. Bye.